Hi everyone, I would like to talk today about pastel toxicity. I know it's a bit of a controversial topic, but I would like to share my thoughts and my experience on this, so I hope you are interested. On the background, I will be painting this fantasy portrait that I did a while ago. Okay, let's start by saying I am not a doctor or a healthcare professional, but I am an artist and I have some experience with art materials, obviously, and I also have some sensitivities. So this is how I approach my painting. First, pastel sticks and pastel pencils are made from pigment powder and a binder, like clay or resin or whatever they are using, to hold the shape. The concerns with pastels come from the dust that they create while you are painting, and from the pigments that are used to make the sticks. And for whatever reason, the boxes or the packages rarely, if ever, says anything about how to handle them. I look for the AP label on the box, which means that the product has been tested by a toxicologist and that contains no material in enough quantities to be harmful to humans, including children. But they still don't say how to handle these pastels. So well, let's start with the pigments. I think now most people know that some pigments used to make paints are toxic, or that they can be if they are contaminated with some other metals or substances. I try to stick with brands that state that they don't use heavy metals, or brands that disclose the pigments used for each color, so that I can avoid the ones that I don't want to have. On the other hand, I sometimes use oil paints that are made with cadmium or cobalt without any concern, really, because they don't make volatile particles, so I'm not gonna breathe them, and I am also not gonna eat them. As far as I know, even these pigments pose very little to no risks just by being held, because they aren't easily absorbed through the skin. If it concerns you, you can wear gloves or put on protective cream. I've heard one that is called gloves in a bottle, I think, but I haven't tried any. When I paint with oils, I don't get paint on my skin, and my pastels, I buy the ones that don't contain them, so it doesn't matter to me. When it comes to soft pastels, dust is the main concern, and it really is advised that you keep it under control. It doesn't matter if the pigments are considered toxic or not, it's just not good to be inhaling dust. So you should do what you can to control the amount of dust in the air. Just painting by itself doesn't release large amount of dust to the air, but blowing on it does, so please don't do it. Instead, you can tap the board lightly or use a vacuum cleaner with a HEPA filter. You'll see me doing that during this time lapse, and it works really well. It's just very convenient and I don't have to go outside either. But sometimes I tap the excess off on the balcony. Working vertically on an easel helps the excess dust to fall down directly without accumulating on the paper, and afterwards you can just easily wipe it off. The surface that you're painting on plays a big role. I found that sanded papers grab a lot more pigment and create the least amount of dust. I barely have anything to clean afterwards. Also, the softer the pastel is, the more powder it makes, so you maybe should consider that as well. It's often recommended that you use a respirator while working, like a proper one. You can do it if you want to, and I do it because I have to. When I first tried Rembrandt pastel sticks, after about an hour or so my throat was swollen to the point that I thought I was having an allergic reaction to something else. I didn't think that I could be reacting to the pastels. Like, why? Also, I don't have asthma or dust allergies, so maybe it's something in the binder that makes me react, or that gives me this tingling, swelling. I don't know. It's very similar as a mild allergic reaction to me. So I have to recommend the use of a mask, like an N95, but make sure that it's very well adjusted, the fit is tight, and that when you inhale through your mouth, the mask kinda sticks to your face. Since I began using them, I haven't had any more problems and I've been painting a lot with pastels. To be honest, and as you can see in this video, I wear one even when I'm painting with pastel pencils, because even though they create a lot less dust, and the particles are bigger and fall down quickly. It's just to be careful, it doesn't bother me too much. Actually, I am careful when I paint, and my pastel sticks are not very soft. There is barely any dust falling down, and yet I got allergic reactions, meaning I was indeed inhaling some pastel dust. Tiny particles get released when you're painting, even if you can see them. Although I have to say that I saw them once when some sun rays were coming in and were just hitting on the paper. You could see like little sparkles. I could see them. Because I don't currently have a dedicated studio where I live, I don't use pastel sticks at home because I'm not willing to risk it, especially having small children or little pets around. I don't think it's worth it. I use them outside or at my parents' where I do have a studio. If you are asthmatic or have other health issues, you could look into getting an air purifier with a HEPA filter or maybe consider a different medium. But in my opinion, just my opinion, even if you do have some respiratory problems, I think that wearing a mask and using just pastel pencils, not the sticks, I think it should be fine. But just my opinion, not a doctor. I personally don't wear an apron or protective clothing because, as I said, I don't make any mess. But it's something that you can consider if you're one of those artists that get paint all over. The precautions that you take really depend on how much all of this stresses you or how the painting area that you have or your painting habits or health condition or the people you live with. It depends on your situation. But to summarize, so this is what I do. I use a sandpaper-like type of paper and only paint with pastel pencils at home. I use the sticks outside and always wear a mask while painting. And don't eat while painting. I don't usually wear gloves, but occasionally I do if I'm doing a lot of blending just to protect the skin from the paper because it's a little bit abrasive. I paint with my easel standing vertically so that any residue falls down and never blow on it, which having the mask on helps with it because even if you blow, nothing comes out. To remove the excess dust, I either tap it from the back outside, like I tap the board from the back, facing down, or I use the vacuum cleaner inside. I also don't spray any fixatives on my pastel paintings, and I use baby wipes to clean the desk, but there's barely anything on it. And of course, when I'm done, I wash my hands. Yeah. After having said all of that, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have already noticed that I haven't shared any news of pastel work since I came back from Spain. And the ones that I'm sharing are the ones that I painted while I was there. And instead, I've started using recently oil pastels to see if they could be a good substitute. It's just that having to rely on the weather to be able to paint and also having to be so careful with my art supplies it's not something that I enjoy doing. And because my favorite way of painting with them is to combine both the sticks and the pencils, I haven't had the chance to go out yet. It's been really cold and rainy and windy. So I will have to leave the soft pastels for occasions during the summer when I do feel like going outside and keep working with my other mediums. And now for sure it's all that I had to say. I would love to know your opinion and the precautions that you take, if you take any, or if you try them and you also reacted to them, or or if you think it's worth it or not the risk. Well, for me it's a risk, but maybe for you it's not. So yeah, have a lovely day. Bye bye.